think we good. Let's go on. We can go on.
Member. My name is Noemi Uribe, and I was a former Hillsong member and leader.
Noemi Uribe grew up in the church. You
What
might
happened?
say it's the family business.
So I grew up in a apostolic Pentecostal church, very strict, very conservative, predominantly Latino church, and my dad was clergy within. He was associate pastor, and then he ended up being somewhat of like a missionary within the church in Mexico. So he had exposure to a lot of the politics that happens within a church. And that in turn, I had it as well. And all of my uncles as well were a part of the church. And they were second generation because my grandpa had been a part of it. So it was
Yo, bro, the whole lineage was a part of the church. So obviously this, like, it wasn't any way that you could, like, be born outside of, not, you know what I'm saying? Outside of being a part of this church, bro. Like, or a part of, or outside of, like, this church being a part of, like, your blood, literally, your DNA. Like, damn.
a big family thing that people pass on. And now I have cousins who are becoming pastors and leaders in the church. So it's kind of a generational thing once you're in it. And so I was expected to go on that path.
Yeah.
Upon moving to a new town where they didn't know anyone, Noemi quickly found an adoptive family in Hillsong.
I joined Hillsong Boston in 2017 when I came to Boston. I moved here for graduate school. They were trying to get volunteers to be a part of it, so I was able to help build it up. And I was a part of Hillsong until December of 2019, and it was a interesting experience to say the least.
Looking back, Noemi says there were some early warning signs.
Oh my god, and don't even get me started about, like, being a you know what I'm saying, the pastor's kid, or having the whole family, like, you know, being part of the church's whole executive committee. You know what I'm saying? Don't even get me started on that, and then having doubts about being part of this church anymore. Oh, don't even ask those kind of questions. Like, what are you doing? No, like what are you doing? You questioning the church? Yo, you're questioning the family. Yeah. I feel like it gets that deep, bro. And seeing, you know, Naomi, oh shit. Girl, your whole family lineage is part of this thing, bro. Yo, let me hear the story, dog. Like, yo, let me hear the story. This must have been interesting as fuck.
First time I went to a volunteers night, and this is important because it really informs how I navigated my own experience.
Yeah.
Josh Kimes, who was the pastor of Boston, told the new volunteers sitting there, I'm not going to have the time to be pastoring you.
What does that mean?
You need to find things that are fulfilling for you spiritually so that when you come on Sundays, you're ready to serve people. And that for me was interesting, having been a pastor's kid, seeing the like preparation that went behind it to serve people. And so the fact that he's telling now the volunteers that you need to pastor yourself didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
In so many ways, as a pastor not pastoring is weird.
But even worse was the way they found themselves and other volunteers being treated.
I think they just saw us as worker ants. And so it was a constant after service.
Workers.
Of like, oh my, okay, how many times is Josh going to yell at us? What is he going to say? How is he going to do it?
Noemi sees the soul.
I'm not going to lie, bro. Like, this thing is real, right? Here's how real this thing is, bro. Like, you might just give your whole life to a church. You know what I'm saying? A congregation. Like, look at how it works, right? The thing is, I was also, you know, I was like, yeah, like a religious freak myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking about going to church, even during the days, during the week, not even on a Sunday. Like Sunday, you know, you have the prayer meetings, you know what I'm saying? You have the cell group meetings, they call them cell group meetings, where they gather, you know, weekly, where people who are committed to the vision of that church gather weekly, whatever y'all discuss, you know, shit like visions on how to go out there and evangelize more, win more souls for, you know what I'm saying, for the cause of the agenda. So, you know, I was part of that kind of thing, and I feel like for as long as you know, you show your heart of just like being hungry for, you know, the salvation, this North Star, like the direction, like desperate for, you know, this hand of grace or whatever, right? This deity to just like, you know, put his hand of good graces upon you. You know what I'm saying? Whatever reason, you know what I mean? And so for as long as you're showing that, bro, like you're gonna be a worker for these people, because like the thing is, you're always gonna show up at, you know, at their front door. You know what I'm saying? Because now, look, the Bible has been used, right? Well, this is for like the Christians out there, right? Because I was practicing the whole Christianity, and the church that I'm talking about, you know, did the whole thing where, you know, we practice the word. You don't just come to church on Sunday, just receive the, you practice the word. That's why I was like, yo, I was involved in the whole, you know, group meetings, all night prayers, nigga, church camps, all type of stuff, right? And so therefore, there was a you know, internship program where you can intern. You know what I'm saying? You can be the intern. Obviously, this would depend on like the length of you showing your faithfulness to Jesus, right? To the cause of the church, in other words. And then, you know, you get into the internship program. Obviously, it's not free. You feel what I'm saying? And then you do that, then you get employed, man. You know what I'm saying? And at that level of like, not even at the level of you maybe even getting into the internship program, or you know what I'm saying, being, I don't know, junior pastor or whatever, like kind of leader. It's like from the time of you being baptized, bro. Right? You're baptized, maybe it's like maybe your fourth week. Yeah, these baptizing ceremonies that they'd have, right? Baptize you. Hey, now you're ready. Now, yo, you gotta go shepherd people. You shepherd your own self. You know what I'm saying? Deal with your own. Here we deal with leaders. We gotta work. We gotta get to work. We gotta, you know, make this thing happen. Let's go. What are the numbers? How many people you know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, I ain't got no time to baby. So Hillsong got that kind of structure of this kind of church that I'm talking about. The church that I was involved with. There's this system, bro. It has a name to it, right? They have its own specific name, things like that, where it's like they coined it, this is our system, the vision of our church, you know what I'm saying? The vision of our church. Yeah, so with every disciple of Christ that's gonna like give their life to Christ, we filter them into the system, and then we're good to go. You know what I'm saying? We good to go. We can make the money, and yo, trust me, money is a very crucial part of that scheme, dog. It's a very crucial part of that whole process.
Source of this behavior going all the way up to the founder of Hillsong.
So obviously, you know what I'm saying? You being a vulnerable soul out there, you just was lost, and then now all of a sudden, yo, it's work, bro. It's no more babying you like, oh, forgiveness every Sunday. It's like, bro, what the hell? You gotta be able to be strong. Been here for like 3 months already, bro. Like, be strong, dog. And you know, we got this money to make.
I think it definitely stems from the top and the attitude of Brian Houston. And people who I know have served Brian Houston, either their coffee or in the green rooms or doing different things, will say that he's not a good person or he's not nice. That he sees their volunteers as like a worker ant who is not deserving of words or like to be looked at, you know?
For Noemi, the breaking
telling you, bro, you don't become a volunteer forever with these kind of places.
Point came when they went to Hillsong leaders to work through emerging questions about their sexual orientation.
You had to like really dig deep to find a situation that happened in 2015 with another volunteer in New York who was a choir director and who was, people knew that he was gay, and when he finally announced that he was engaged and getting married to his partner, they ended up asking him to step down and was no longer allowed to be a part of the choir.
Nah, bro. You know what's worse? Okay, this is this. You know, but yo, there were people obviously who were gay who had to now actually mask up the fact that they are gay. You know what I'm saying? They have to mask that up, and so therefore they force themselves to marry people, you know, of the opposite sex, just to keep this thing going, just to keep this image in this church going. Again, because the authority is the sacred script, right, and the church. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, bro, yeah. Let me leave it there.
I ended up having to dig that out and was then asking, okay, why did this happen? What is the actual theology behind it?
Yep.
And they would always just say it's a case-by-case basis. And so that made it really weird, and it gave me more questions and answers.
Eventually, the situation spiraled.
My family was far away, and the people who were there near me were also pushing me away. So it took me down a very dark path. And in June of 2019, I ended up having to admit myself to a psychiatric hospital because I needed that, because suicide ideation was so high. And the only people who were able to distinguish that and say something else professionally is needed here were my friends outside of the church. And that really led me to realize...
It's always that, isn't it? The people outside of the church, kinda, they may come across as having more sense than people who are brainwashed by their religion. Doesn't have to be just this Christianity, but you know what I'm saying, who have gone to the other side of the dark side of religion.
That if I didn't have my friend and outside support to go to a hospital, and I continued with what Hillsong was offering, I would not be here today.
In Noemi's opinion, Hillsong, like many other religious organizations, likely started off with noble intentions before eventually becoming corrupted.
From the history that I've learned from Hillsong is that Brian Houston, before he started and developed a place like Hillsong to be what it became, was a very community-centered church where people were volunteering. Everything was very different in Australia until he traveled to the US and met televangelists and people who were doing this kind of church very differently with a perspective of capitalism behind it, of getting money out of it. And so when he returns to Australia, he brings this new perspective, and then everything shifts, and people start to have this exploitation because we're...
But they even have a band, bro, right? They got their own rock band, and it's a party, bro. It's vibes here.
Trying to grow so we can get more money and write more books and do all of this merch and these music. So then you start to see the shift of where it happens there.
By the time the Hillsong empire began to collapse, Noemi was already gone. The dominoes fell quickly. Hillsong's founder, Brian Houston, resigned, not over one scandal, but two. First, accusations of sexual impropriety of his
I heard this. I heard about this. Do your homework.
own. And second, allegations that he helped to cover up credible claims of child sexual abuse committed by his own father. In New Jersey, a Hillsong pastor stepped down after allegedly sending a sexually...
Bro, what is it about people in power and kids, bro? What is it about people empowering kids, bro? Because the more and more I hear about that kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? It's like the more I start to believe the whole conspiracy. I don't know if it's a conspiracy at this point or if it's just like flat out reality staring me straight in my face. You know, this whole thing where it's like they need them to, you know, for this whole sacrificial kind of thing. Like, oh, it's like kids are they always gotta be involved. Is it because of the freshness of the blood? I don't... Alright, let me leave it there, bro. Let me leave it. But this shit is crazy. The head pastor, bro. Right? That's a position of power in there. His own father was busy with children. Why do kids gotta be connected with these people that are associated with these levels of power? This stuff is sickening, bruh. Stuff is sickening to think about.
Explicit photo to a volunteer. But the poster child
I heard about
for Hillsong's meteoric rise and catastrophic fall was celebrity preacher Carl Lentz, who took to Instagram to confess his infidelity to his wife in front of the world that once worshipped him. Hillsong, as it currently...
Oh yeah, and I heard that guy Justin Bieber was part of this church, right?
stands, may be a shadow of its former self. But it is already hard at work reinventing. In fact, a member of our team went to Los Angeles to take a look for ourselves.
So for the next step of our investigation, we decided to see what does Hillsong look like post-scandal, at least here in Los Angeles.
Good question.
So that's what I did. A couple weekends ago on a Sunday morning, I drove out to, it wasn't a nightclub, it wasn't their own dedicated space. They're having services, at least at the moment, in the auditorium of a Los Angeles high school.
Yeah.
First thing I noticed when I pulled into the parking lot is there were a lot of very, very nice, very expensive cars there. And as I got out of my much less nice car, honestly, I was feeling nervous. On one hand, Noemi had told us to expect greeters at the door and that I was going to get love bombed. And, you know, was I walking into some kind of cult?
That's it. You get the love bombing. Come on, boy. Don't forget the love bombing. Yay. Hey, bro. The welcome is overwhelmingly warm. They can give you the warmest. Well, it's crazy how it's actually bait, bro. I figured it out. Oh my god. Oh. It's bait. I don't know what kind of bait to call it. These neighbors is beige maxing. They bait maxing. Did I say beige? They got me tripping on my own words. Bro, they welcome you. It's a party. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, I went to one of these similar kind of church. It's a party, boy. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm telling you, the brutality is just around the corner. Watch out.
Hard for me to walk out of. And on the other hand, I was having these paranoid thoughts. We reached out to the leadership, the current leadership of Hillsong Los Angeles, to see if they would talk to us on camera for this project. We didn't hear back, but were they going to somehow recognize me? Was I going to end up in some weird, like, interrogation room? But obviously, nothing of that sort happened. A couple greeters at the door did say good morning to me. I walked past a bunch of people.
Bro, well, we just disconnected. Golly, boy. Damn. Well, we just disconnected. Don't do that, man.
It was a good-looking crowd, a very stylish crowd, but it was also a very noticeably diverse crowd. It was multi-ethnic, it was multi-generational.
It was eclectic.
And I went inside and I had a seat, and before too long, the lights went down and the performance began. Yep. And that's what it is. It's a performance. It's a concert. It's professional sound, professional lighting, musically, not my cup of tea. If you like that whole Mumford and Sons stomp, clap, hey kind of thing, maybe you'd like it more than I do. But I'm not trying to make fun of it. I grew up in a Catholic church.
Nah, that's exactly what it is. It's not making fun of it. It's exactly what it is.
Music was...
It's a vibe, though. I'm not going to... Watch out.
So painfully boring. I did appreciate that they were trying to make the music fun and energetic to engage people spiritually. Like I said at one point, is it okay if we do a new song? And everybody in the crowd went crazy. And I realized I went to Catholic church for 20 years. I don't think they ever played one new song once. So I have no doubt that there were a lot of people there who were showing up because they wanted to have a genuine spiritual experience on a Sunday morning. And I feel like that's what a lot of those people were getting. And I was only there for 20 or 30 minutes. There was this other side that I could definitely see. Before it started, there was a guy walking around the outside of the rows of chairs saying stuff like, "Are you ready to get your praise on?" Which, maybe that appeals to you. You know, different strokes. It struck me as a little bit silly. And I also couldn't help but noticing the second the band came out, the second the music started, a bunch of people, it seemed like they like flipped a switch, especially the front row, like the Hillsong mosh pit. They're jumping and they're clapping and they're hugging each other. And maybe I'm just being cynical, but you can't help but wonder. It felt performative.
It is.
Like how much of this was sincere and how much of this were they doing to make a show for other people and maybe also for themselves. And then the preacher came out after 3 very long songs, very stylish, terrific haircut. And he immediately launched into, if this is your first time here, let me tell you what we're all about. And the first thing he said is something like, we believe that God is present in this room.
Nice.
And, you know, that's fine. That's pretty typical of a religious gathering. But then he went one step further and he said, and this is pretty much a direct quote, we believe in the supernatural healing of the sick. And then he went further than that, and they pulled up this big wall behind him with a graphic of all the miracles that all the people in the room were praying for. This person wants a job. This person's looking for love. And it struck me that the whole vibe of this thing was very modern and stylish and cool and was much more similar to what you might find in popular entertainment.
That's it. That's what you know what I'm saying? That's how they keep you there.
But at its core, it wasn't all that different from what you'd find in like a prosperity Bible megachurch.
Okay.
The prosperity gospel preaches that if you believe hard enough and you pray hard enough, you can get rich. And it just seemed like Hillsong was saying that if you believe hard enough and sing along hard enough to the songs that we play, that we can petition God to make miracles, like make wishes come true. And at that point, I felt like I got the idea. I felt like I'd had enough, so I kind of snuck out in the back. I took with me.
We didn't even finish the service. No. That's crazy.
It was a couple weeks before Easter. They had an Easter egg, and they said they were going to be dropping Easter eggs with candy for the kids from a helicopter on Easter. So I had one of those on my chair. And needless to say, I also had one of these collection envelopes.
Of course. To make your lump sum of a donation, thank you very much.
Hillsong Los Angeles may or may not be able to deliver the miracles the leaders profess to believe in. But putting supernatural elements aside, now that the community has been humbly reduced from its former glory, ironically, it might stand a better chance of actually resembling what Jesus actually envisioned for his community of believers.
I think ultimately the design of it wasn't to be big. Jesus was calling for people to have like house churches and smaller spaces where community could be created, where everyone put money into a pot and everyone's needs were met through that. And so then if you grow a space to be so big where no one knows each other's names or knows the random person that comes in through your door, then how are you actually building community and humanizing people?
Organized religion has offered and continues to offer real, tangible benefits to believers all around the world. And countless religious leaders no doubt embody the very best virtues their faiths have to offer. I lost my dad at 8 years old, and the pastor of my church took me in and took care of my brother and I. Some of the best people I've ever met are Christians. But when the final accounting is made, are we certain that the positives truly outweigh the negatives, both past and present? You could make the case easily that religion, even more than guns and bombs, has been the single most destructive force in human history.
That's right.
So, what might the world look like if it never existed at all? Most major societies throughout history have developed dominant religious systems that became deep.
World was gonna be wild, bro. World would have been a wild jungle, just as it stands, bro.
Deeply tied to their politics and culture. China is possibly the only one major.
Well, that's my only guess. But then, you know. I don't know. Because even governments, bro. I feel like governments were birthed off of religious principles. So if there's no religion, there's no government. Like, it's my, you know what I'm saying? So this is my speculations, my little guess.
Major exception. Throughout its history, not just under communism, China has largely been non-religious. Confucianism, Taoism, and later Buddhism shaped Chinese life, but these were more worldviews than rigid religions. They didn't impose the strict hierarchies or dogmatic rules that organized religions elsewhere often did. In fact, a century before Christopher Columbus set sail, China had the most advanced naval power in the world, far beyond anything Europe could imagine at the time. Yet China chose to turn inwards. Confucian scholars urged that chasing power and wealth overseas would lead to corruption and ruin, a sharp contrast to Europe's latest.
And they were right. They were right.
Obsession with conquest and empire fueled by religious destiny. Even without a mandate to spread faith by force, China still isn't without sin. Perhaps at the end of the day, whether in the name of God's glory or a nation's glory or simply an individual's glory, the innate human desire to assert power and accumulate wealth is bound to rear its ugly head in one form or another. The challenge though is that we can all come together and criticize openly when it's the latter too. Yet when it's done in the name of God, it becomes a lot more difficult to talk about. Once somebody says or does anything in the name of their God or their religion, arguments to the contrary on the basis of fairness or reason go out the window. Because religion of its very nature,
like, people are willing to off other people all in the name of their religion, right? Seen that.
It's irrational. There is no counter argument to because God said so. And when the message I believe I'm getting from my,
it creates this whole other, it others the others. It others them.
God conflicts with the message you're getting from your God, there's really no way we can ever settle. Throughout history, many observers have pointed out that people who act in the name of religion frequently do not even act in a manner that is consistent with how their religion's founders carried themselves while alive. To put it simply, Christians, Muslims, and Buddhists may not agree on much, but ironically, Christ, Muhammad, and Buddha probably would. Putting aside questions of the afterlife, in the here and now, in the world as we know it, if you approach life with an open heart and a sincere desire to improve yourself and the world around you, it probably doesn't matter much which religion you decide to follow, or whether you follow any at all. But this assumes that your goal is enlightenment, and sadly, that does not seem to be the actual aim of most of the world's religious. Too often, rather than helping effect real change, religion prevents people from taking practical action to make the world a better place, either by dividing us into opposing camps to fight one another, or by pushing doomsday propaganda which makes taking small but practical steps towards improving life in the here and now seem futile in comparison. Religion should be an aid to kindness, open-mindedness, and compassion.
I'm not gonna lie, just, if you've made it this far in the video, man, click that like button, bro. You're not subscribed yet, might as well smash that one, right? Just final perspective, bro. Religion is not a bad thing, ask me. Like, religion is not a bad thing. It's made to be used as a tool. I'm saying, as I said, a tool, you know what I mean, to guide people into, or give them that sort of guidance, that North Star of morality, and just being like staying in line. But then somebody needs to draw that line. Religion is that line, if you ask me. Well, it's meant to be that. See what I mean? It's just now people with weird agendas that I'm saying use it. People like the prosperity gospel preachers. See what I'm saying? People that use it to enrich their own pockets, right? While massively still pressing the lowly of society. If you picking up what I'm putting down, you know what I'm saying? So it's how it is in how it has been used to weaponize people against one another, been politicized, prosperitized. It's in these kind of degenerate modes that it has gained this negative connotation about it.
To work into a social justice and improving living standards for all, instead more often acts as an obstacle. As easy as it is to embrace cynicism, it's worth remembering that the world is a far, far more tolerant place than it was even 1,000 or even 100 years ago.
I worked with a group called Chefs for Peace, Christian Jews and Muslims. We used to cook in kitchens together with really sharp knives, in a very small kitchen. And we never did any damage to each other because we realized that if you believe in the one true God, the book of Isaiah says you will turn spears into plowshares, swords into pruning hooks. But I think we can all realize that the world is a very big place. There are going to be many people who believe different things. Can we coexist and yet still have dialogue with each other in a peaceful way? It's not an easy thing.
And sadly, we still have a long way to go. Luckily, the Christian drive to convert the world has died off. And in the modern world, it doesn't always end well for the people who try. The extreme world of radical Islam, however, is still in desperate need of